When I got sick that winter, it wasn't dramatic enough to feel like a crisis. But it was enough to make the world shrink. Most days I stayed in my apartment, moving slowly between the couch and the kitchen. Emails piled up. Messages went unanswered longer than usual. Time had a soft, blurred quality to it. My sister Emily's wedding planning continued without me. That wasn't unusual. I had helped earlier in the year, coordinating deposits, managing a shared spreadsheet for vendors, helping my parents organize the wedding fund they'd set aside. After that, things mostly moved into the phase where decisions were about flowers, dresses, seating charts. Not my area. Then one afternoon my phone rang. It was my father. He spoke carefully at first, in the tone people use when they're trying to stay calm. "Something's come up with the wedding account." I assumed he meant a payment problem. A vendor dispute, maybe. Instead, he said $30,000 was missing. There was a small pause after he said it. Not the pause of uncertainty. The pause of someone waiting for a response they already expect. Because I had once helped move money from that account to pay deposits. My name had been attached to a few of the earlier transactions. That was enough for the suspicion to settle naturally in my direction. I remember sitting on the edge of my couch, still wrapped in a blanket, trying to understand what he was implying. "I haven't touched that account in months," I said. He didn't argue. He didn't accuse me directly either, but the tone stayed the same. Measured, careful, already leaning toward a conclusion. After that call, something subtle changed. Family group chats that had been active every day about wedding details went quiet whenever I appeared. Conversations moved elsewhere. When I messaged Emily asking if everything was okay, she responded hours later with a short answer that didn't actually say anything. No one yelled at me. No one demanded anything. But the silence carried its own message. The assumption had already been made. Being sick made the whole thing feel heavier. It's difficult to defend yourself energetically when your body already feels drained. For a few days I considered doing nothing at all, letting the distance grow and dealing with it later. But what bothered me wasn't the accusation itself, it was how easily it had settled into place. A week later I opened the old wedding planning folder on my laptop. I was originally just looking for the payment history from the months when I had helped manage deposits. That's when I noticed something odd. Some of the transactions labeled wedding expenses didn't match any vendors I recognized. I opened the bank statement attached to the shared account. At first it just looked like noise, dates, merchant codes, confirmation numbers. But when I began reading the descriptions carefully, the pattern became clearer. A luxury boutique in Los Angeles. Another purchase from a designer handbag store. 2 large ticket charges from a music festival site. Travel deposits for a resort weekend. None of it resembled catering invoices or venue payments. I sat there for a long time scrolling through the records. The strange thing was that I didn't feel angry. Just curious, because the missing money existed. But the story around it didn't match reality. A few days later my parents asked if we could meet at their house to talk things through. Emily would be there too. When I arrived, the atmosphere felt almost formal. Everyone sat around the dining table as if we were about to discuss a complicated contract rather than a family problem. My mother spoke first. She said the situation had created confusion, that the wedding account showed withdrawals none of them remembered approving. No one said the word steal. They didn't have to. I listened quietly while they explained. Then I opened my laptop. I connected it to the television in the living room and pulled up the transaction history from the shared account. Rows of purchases filled the screen. Dates, locations, amounts, designer stores, travel bookings, ticket confirmations. I scrolled slowly until the total matched the missing $30,000. The room was quiet. Finally I asked Emily one question. "Do these look like wedding expenses to you?" No one spoke for a moment. Emily leaned forward slightly, studying the screen. Her expression shifted in small increments, recognition, then something harder to read. She started explaining that some purchases had been temporary, that she planned to reimburse the account later. That certain things were connected to wedding events. The explanations weren't angry, just uncertain. My parents looked between the screen and Emily, recalculating the story they had already accepted. I didn't interrupt. The transactions kept sitting there on the television, calm and factual. Eventually my father cleared his throat. "Well," he said slowly, "it seems we misunderstood where the money went." That was it. No apology. No dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet correction. Later that evening I walked out to my car while the house behind me remained strangely quiet. My name had been cleared. Technically, everything was resolved. But as I drove home, what stayed with me wasn't the relief. It was the realization of how quickly the accusation had formed, and how little resistance it had met. Clearing the truth had been simple. Rebuilding the space, where trust used to be, felt like something entirely different.